Now we will talk about the DHCP relay. Please tell me what DHCP relay is and why do we need in our LAN environment?
From my understanding, we use the DHCP relay when we have to get the IP address from a DHCP server which is not inside our network.
Okay. What if that server is inside our network? Then?
If it is inside our network, that means it's running on the router.
Network, you mean subnet?
Yes, that means it is implemented in the router.
Okay, okay. So let's take the Windows environment, the same scenario that I was discussing earlier. We have the DHCP server. We have the same network interface card. Let's say this is 1, this is 2. It has the range 1.10 and this one is 2.10. The same way we have the host machines here. This time this is connected with the switch directly. So there is no any kind of barrier. There is no any kind of segregation. So this is going to get from the range of 2.10. 2 range from 2. Let's say 100. But you can clearly see this one is, sorry, I use the same subnet. Sorry for that. This is not 2. Let's make it like 4. 4.0. And this one is 1.10. We have this segregation, separate portion. We have this segregation, which is 4.0, and this one is 1.10. You haven't hit the concept of the router, but let me tell you, switches allow broadcast. Whatever the broadcast will be sent from the host machine, it will go across the switches. But in case of the router, if this host will send the broadcast, it will be blocked right here, and it will be blocked right here. So the idea is this computer is looking for the IP from the range of this subnet. But it cannot allocate the IP since now we know this is our border. It will never allow this broadcast to go either here or from this way. So this is the clear disconnect. So that is the reason we use DHCP relay concept here. We will assign the DHCP relay on the subnet that is in question. We will assign a kind of command which will tell the server that I'm looking for the subnet from this range, 192.168.1.10. So basically what will happen behind the scene, your broadcast will turn into the unicast. Because the routers, they will allow the unicast happily, but they will not allow the broadcast. Unicast will be allowed. So DHCP relay is doing nothing, just converting your 255.255 that broadcast into a unicast IP, which is going to be the IP of your DHCP server. Got the idea?
Kamran, also, this is the same as if someone asks the question like, if we have a Windows DHCP server, and Hefe and Christelle, this is for you guys. When you have a DHCP server out there, look, it's doing this offering, it's giving IP addresses, right? But here Kamran is saying, if this one machine on the top one asks for the IP address, and in the middle there's a router, if there's no command issued or you haven't done anything with the relay, it will do what? It will kill that request, right? It won't let it go. So this is why you need this type of relay, and you will say, I want to use that IP address, that DHCP server, and this is the IP address of it, and I want it to go to that because now I accept it. I am letting you do that. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes, yes, you're right, Danish.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so in the middle, in the router, you have this functionality where you just add this as a command where you say, I want to add this specific server as a relay. And then it goes out and it is do your job, because it's like a security guard. You give it something to the security guard, say, hey, from now on, you're gonna have to accept this type of people. You're gonna give them whatever in return when they ask you for something, because you give that information to the security guard. If it doesn't have that information, then it will do what it's designed for. It's gonna block it. It won't let it. On the bottom one, there is no such thing like that, right? It doesn't block anything because the address, the broadcast is going through in switches. Then if there was a DHCP server out there, it wouldn't even do it. It will just give it out because the request has been actually gone through that switch and it went through to that server. There was no blockage. And this is why, if I give you another example, you could be working in a building where they may have actually a very big building and they may have multiple routers. So if they have, let's say, 2 DHCP servers, how are they going to connect with each other? Because there are routers somewhere in the middle. So those routers has to know about these servers, right? And this is where the relay options will play a big role between, going through and getting the DHCP addresses. Kamran, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, 100% right.
All right, thank you.
So if we talk about in the routing environment, we have almost the same thing. We have a router here and we can see the switch is connected. So this host machine has any issues getting the IP directly from this the server. But as you can take a look here, we have the segregation point here. This is one network. This is totally different network. So this host machine is going to starve. It is not going to get the IP from the DHCP server. So that's why we have this kind of thing. This is known as IP helper address. And this is also one of very important interview questions. And even they asked me as well. When it comes to the DHCP, the first and foremost thing they're going to ask about what is IP helper address. But they're not going to ask you what is IP helper address. Then you're going to aware that, okay, he wants to know basically the question that he is going to ask, and I know the answer. This is IP helper address, and what is going to do. So what question they're going to put basically, they will say we have multiple routers in between, and one of my host machine is not the getting IP. What could be the reason? So you can say the reason is because we have multiple subnets. The broadcast cannot pass through these routers, and then you need a IP helper addresses there. And if you take a look, this is the command. This is just a single command. On my fast Ethernet 0/1, and we will do these labs in CCNA a lot, I'm just writing IP helper minus address 192.168.1.100. By the way, in a test lab out, they have one lab regarding the DHCP relay. So you're gonna hit that lab as well. So this is also good information for you before you hit that lab.